Hello and welcome to the Little Knowledge Podcast, where myself, Paul Busby, and Goff Morgan have a chat about local buildings in the area of South Wales and how they all tend to meld together, as will become evident today.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, how are you, Goff? I know that's what a lot of the public want to know. They haven't seen you for
Oh,
a while.
bless your tiny hat. Yes, I'm a lot better, thank you. My knee is still recovering. I've been a poorly bunny. So, very bad knee osteoarthritis, but it is on the mend and I'm walking a lot better. Still not quite up the distances, but I'm not, randomly shouting obscenities at passers-by on the
Well, no
bus.
more than usual.
No more than usual. No, no, it's just a hobby as opposed to a compulsion. So that's quite nice. Yeah. No, I'm a lot better. So, but almost match fit, but not quite yet.
Well, you're fit enough for this, and that's the
Oh, well,
important
I'm
thing
fit
right
enough
now.
to sit down and chew the fat with you. Yeah.
But the interesting thing, for the first time ever, we realized just before we started recording that Goff has no idea where we're going on this one, do you?
No,
You don't know the building.
no, this is a mystery tour for me. We could be going to Western Supermare for all I know. I've got no idea. Yeah.
Uh, okay, well,
Yeah, cool.
we shall put you all out of your misery. We are going to talk about this place. And this is Caldicot Castle.
Oh, blimey.
Yep,
Oh,
Caldicot
this exist.
Castle. And as I said to you just before we started, Goff, I'm doing this out of stubbornness, quite frankly. I can't believe how many people sort of slighted this castle down the years as saying that it's not really worth much. Its history is obscure, but there are some very interesting bits. And we all love an underdog, don't we?
Correct.
So
It is a funny, it's an odd little space, isn't it? Because it's not, it's not owned by Cadw and places like that, so it doesn't get that big high profile, does it? That you get of the
it's
larger,
local authority. Yeah.
yeah, local authority run it. So I
Yeah.
think that's possibly why it slips under a lot of people's radar. I mean, obviously in our area we know of Caldicot Castle,
Yeah.
but frankly, for my shame, I have never been to Caldicot Castle.
Oh, you'll be,
I wouldn't know
when your
yeah.
leg's better, you'll be desperate to go there after this, Goff.
Scampering in,
I shall
scampering.
convince you as to why. Well, the location, Caldicot, is in the Doomsday Book. It's
Oh,
at the most western point, I think, in the Doomsday Book.
interesting.
So it was always a useful location. Even the Romans believed it because it's on the road to Caerwent.
Yes.
So it was always a useful location. Now we think a tower was built here, a wooden Motte and Bailey, by a man called Walter Fitzwalter of Gloucester, who is described as a curser, a swearer, and a man of wrath. I like him already.
I like him already.
Yeah. Who then took to the cloister and died a monk in Llantoni Priory. So he
Oh
kind of had that
gosh.
kind of
Yeah.
conversion. I mean, his son Miles was the Earl of Hereford, who died in 1144, and he was killed by an arrow in a hunting accident. Happened quite a bit to prominent people.
We've had a lot of people dying in hunting accidents, haven't we? Oh, whoops, that went off. Sorry,
Yeah.
twang.
Exactly. Unfortunately, his five sons also meant it was the end for this line, the Fitzwalters, because his five sons, the first became a monk, not helpful. The
Yeah.
second died in his prime childless. The third was killed in battle. The fourth was crushed by a falling stone at Bronchlys Castle in Brecon.
Oh gosh.
And the fifth, believe it or not, was killed in a hunting accident.
Oh, good grief! What a
Which
wipeout!
it was a royal wipeout or a
Yeah.
noble wipeout,
Gosh.
which basically left a daughter, Margaret, who married Humphrey de Bohun. And the de Bohuns were really top stuff. The de Bohuns were earls over the years of Essex, of Hereford, of Northampton, and they were the hereditary constables of England.
Oh gosh.
So Caldicot passed into the hands of the de Bohuns. So
Mm.
changes obviously had to be made.
So what year are we talking about?
Well, it finally, the keep here when the de Bohuns took over was probably done in around about sort of 1220.
Oh, it's interesting.
So when the de Bohuns, they were nearly always called Humphrey as well. There were 9 Humphrey de Bohuns
Oh gosh.
in charge of Caldicot Castle. It's interesting, though, that a lot of them ended up being buried at Llantoni Priory, which suggested for all their might, they spent quite a bit of time in Caldicot.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
for all their vast lands.
Yeah.
So the wooden Motte Bailey was replaced in about 1221 by this stone keep
Ah,
built by the de Bohun's. They probably built the curtain wall around the same time. Now the keep has 9 foot thick walls. And the interesting thing about this one is it carries on underneath the motte.
oh, right.
So
Ah,
that's not the ground floor,
no.
which suggests that that particular motte is contemporary with the keep, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
They've been built at the same time. That doesn't mean there wasn't a wooden
No.
Motte Bailey in this area. It was all altered by the de Bohun's, who certainly had the means to do so.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got sorts of little holes up there. There would have been a sort of a wooden sort of platform for fighting up there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe,
Yes.
and you've still got the
Those.
holes where it would have been.
Yeah, the holes are where the wooden support struts would have come out.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's quite interesting because you see this a lot in these types of buildings, and I've for years wondered what on earth they actually were, and then of course it makes sense then once you realise that you've got exterior walkways and defensive platforms,
yeah, yeah.
which have just gone. That's just simply gone.
Yeah, the de Bohun's continued. They built the Great Hall, which no longer exists, in the 1340s. There were so many interior buildings which are no longer there.
Hmm.
So many. You can actually see fireplaces on the inside of the curtain walls where clearly there was a building
Oh, blimey!
leaning against it.
Yeah.
And apparently, when it gets hot and you get scorch marks, you can still see the lines of where the buildings used to be.
Oh, goodness me!
There was an awful lot going on in the Bailey of Caldicot Castle over the
Yeah.
years. And what we got here near the keep, you've got this gate, which some believe was the original entrance gate, and it's called to this day the de Bohun Gate.
Yeah.
So that's where you would have come in, sort of originally.
Oh, fascinating.
But the de Bohun's did, after about 200 years of being in charge of this place, they did run out of heirs in the male line, and a daughter. Two daughters, in fact, two heiresses, Eleanor de Bohun and Mary de Bohun, basically inherited Caldicot Castle, and Eleanor married pretty well. Eleanor married this man. This is Thomas
Oh,
of Woodstock. Thomas of
oh,
Woodstock, who there is pointing and going, look, swan. No, he literally is doing that because
yeah.
the swan was the symbol of the de Bohun's towards the end.
Oh, I
And,
see. Right.
and unusually, Thomas of Woodstock, who was the fifth surviving son of King Edward III, is also embracing his wife's lineage.
Oh, right.
So here he is. Here's Thomas pointing to the swan.
Yeah.
And we do know that he owned books, French books on Merlin, and was, although he was called a pious bully by some,
Yeah.
he was very much interested in chivalry and the old romances.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
the swan comes from the legend of the Swan Knight, where there's a damsel and a knight, an anonymous knight appears being driven by swans in a carriage. And so you never know who he is. It's sort of like Batman, but
He
in,
said he
in
may
the
not,
sort of
he may not
1100s.
frighten the enemy, but by God, he frightens me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Thomas of Woodstock is saying, look, I am the son of Edward III, but look, swan.
Swans. Yeah, I've got a carriage pulled by these. I think what is quite interesting about it, the chivalry bit, which they do become sort of obsessed with, was it done as a major distraction to attempt to quieten down a lot of really fractious, bloodthirsty nobles, and to basically give them something else to faff around with rather than go out and constantly attacking their neighbors and raiding other people's properties and fighting amongst themselves. So the chivalric code and the errant knights and all that business was something which was really a way of attempting to control the nobility and civilize them, because
Yeah.
and it took a long time to really take, as we know. I mean, even when you get into the 1400s and the 1500s, they still aren't this refined, Edwardian aristocracy that we tend to see portrayed so much in drama at the moment.
No.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
see
it's interesting. This is the starts of attempting to get away from warlords, basically, and give them a code of behavior and a code of conduct, which is incredibly elaborate as well.
It
So
only goes
you
so
got to
far,
faff
though.
with it.
It only goes so far for Thomas of Woodstock. I mean, he takes over Caldicot and about 70 other places in 1376.
Yeah.
And immediately, because of course his wife was a co-heiress with her sister Mary. So what he does is, this is chivalry for you. He tries to convince Mary to become a nun so he can inherit her lands as well. Mary does not like this idea. Um,
Mary wasn't
Thomas
keen.
Thomas though has inherited the Constable of England from his wife. So he's taken not just the Swan, he's taken a lot from his wife.
Yeah.
So he is Constable of England. He spends most of his time living in Essex at a place called Pleshy Castle. He spends most of his time there, but he decides that South Wales might not be too bad after all in 1381 when the Peasants' Revolt happens.
Oh, yeah.
Is Wat Tyler sadly about to get a bit of a bashing.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, Thomas and Eleanor are back in South Wales at Caldicot Castle. This is a very notable figure.
Yeah.
Constable of England is back there, and in 1381, he spends time at Caldicot Castle, and that legacy can be seen to this day because he rebuilds the gatehouse. And you see it here.
Oh, right.
Very interestingly, up here it becomes a lot more for residential, grand residential use. It's coming at the time when you're moving the residential areas from the keep to the gatehouse. And that
Yes.
does happen a fair bit
It's interesting, isn't
in
it?
that era.
It's obviously a sign that the gatehouse is also no longer your first line of defense.
It's
But
yeah, it's a
because
remarkable building.
you wouldn't be living in your first line of defense, would you?
No,
So
unless you're very confident.
yeah, it's a sign of a much more settled period in many respects when you start doing that sort of thing.
He also built, opposite the gatehouse on the other side of the bailey, what is now known as Woodstock Tower, which bears his name to this day. And one of the stones there had Thomas written on it, and the other one had Eleanor.
Oh, right.
So, these two very important people are really making their mark on this castle, which, quite frankly, could be seen as in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nowhere near the main road of that time, really.
No.
Um, so he's certainly making his mark. But the problem is, he is, as time goes on, he is the uncle, Thomas is the uncle to Richard II.
Oh, right.
And Thomas is not happy with Richard II.
No.
Um, I'm quite, and there's all kinds of mini rebellions to get rid of the king's advisors and all that sort of thing. But he goes far, and I think this was the bit where he went too far, old Thomas. This is what he said to a friend, and it was reported back to the king. He said, in his opinion, the king was only interested in eating and drinking, and I think this is the killer quote, and this is a quote, and the king is too fat in the arse. Direct, direct quote of Thomas of Woodstock. Now, clearly, you
One of
don't
the
say that.
A classic line from history, isn't it? Yeah. Like if only Shakespeare had added it into his historical plays, wouldn't it? That, yeah. Bloke from Caldicot pops up and goes, "Oh, you fat ass at the king." That would be tremendous.
Yeah. And they fall out, and they fall out quite seriously, which ends up
Right.
with Thomas at the age of 42 being arrested by Richard II in 1397 and sent to Calais, where, of course, he dies a natural death. And I'd like to show you an image just a few years later of that natural death of Thomas of Woodstock.
Oh, God help us.
There he is getting.
Well, naturally, one would die under the circumstances. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my God.
It was not natural at all. He was murdered on the orders of Richard II.
What? And basically choked by two guys pulling on a
On a
throttle.
towel.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, we're told a towel. There are two versions. He was either choked to death by a towel like this,
Yeah.
or he was smothered by a feather bed. So we're not sure which, but
Both are equally unpleasant.
equally unpleasant. So he's gone, the old Thomas of Woodstock, and the only legacy he has left, because Pleshy is now just a mound in Essex, and his London homes are no longer there, is Caldicot Castle, and this was quite an important figure in the kingdom of the day of the late 14th century. So there he is, yes, throttled, which is a terrible shame. Mary, do you remember the one he wanted to make a nun?
Yes.
The sister of his wife Eleanor, who died shortly after him, actually, only 2 years after him, and their son died quite young. Mary married a man called Henry Bolingbroke.
Oh,
who succeeded Richard II as King Henry IV.
yes. Oh, right. Well. That's a big royal connection, isn't
It's a big
it?
royal connection. Sadly,
Yeah.
Mary didn't live long enough to be crowned herself, so she
Yeah.
died before her husband became king. But she did not die before she gave birth to the future Henry V. So Mary
Oh,
de Bohun is Henry V's mum.
I
And
never knew.
that means, Goff, that
Yeah.
means she would have rocked this, the cradle of Henry V,
Ha, ha, ha.
for the
How
third
very
time.
it keeps popping up, doesn't it? It's like a royal bad penny. There it is. Pop like the cradle of Henry V.
Back
Good.
again.
Back again by
Now, the
popular
interest,
request.
now, the interesting thing about this is, I mean, we all mock it. We know historically that probably isn't the cradle of Henry V, right? We know this. If you want to know more about that, just watch our Troy House podcast where we go into. I think Henry V cradle pops up in the Raglan Castle podcast as well.
Yeah, I think that this is second location in Troy House. It pops across from somewhere else.
Yeah. But the reason why this is interesting is we're told that Jasper Tudor was held in Caldicot Castle in 1456. Well, Jasper Tudor is the son of Henry V's widow, Catherine of Valois. So what we've got here, we've got the direct link between Henry V's cradle, his
Yeah,
mum, who owned
yeah,
Caldicot Castle, Catherine of Valois, who held Caldicot
yeah.
Castle, and we know her son Jasper Tudor is living, or not living, but has certainly spent time at Caldicot Castle. So, and
Yeah.
later on, Caldicot Castle falls into the hands of the Somerset family, the Dukes of Beaufort, who
Oh,
owned Troy House.
yeah,
So the link for the cradle that we
yeah.
weren't sure how it got there actually might run through Caldicot Castle.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a
This
direct link, isn't it?
yeah. I get more interesting how Jasper Tudor keeps popping up in this area. He pops up all around the place.
Yes,
It's really,
maybe.
really
You
quite
buy it,
interesting.
his head is on St. Woolas Cathedral?
But the one of the statue at the front is on the front of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
be Jasper Tudor. Yeah, I don't know. The face is very badly disfigured, and if you look at it
yeah.
at the wrong angle, it looks like it's been turned around, and you're looking at his backside, so you can't really tell anyway.
So we can't be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
Well,
interesting that Jasper Tudor, again, the uncle of Henry the Seventh as well, the start of the Tudor dynasty,
yeah.
does spend a hell of a lot of time in this area, including with Henry the Seventh's mother in
Mm.
Mice Glass Castle we discovered a couple of months ago. Do you remember?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I
Yeah.
mean that there's something else going around in the back here with Lancastrians and Tudors and all floating around in this area at the time of the end of the Plantagenets. It's very intriguing.
Yeah, I agree. But I always love when we find little links we weren't expecting to link
Yeah,
different properties. I mean,
yeah.
it is one big jigsaw, isn't it? We've learned that much over the years doing this podcast. It all links.
Oh,
Now, clearly, there was a rumor that started actually, and I don't know where it came from, but John Leyland mentioned it when he was wandering around during the era of Henry VIII, writing about various properties.
yeah.
And he said about Caldicot Castle, the rumor is that Henry VII was conceived there. Born at Pembroke Castle, but conceived at Caldicot.
Oh,
But I
hello.
can find no evidence at all where
Well,
that came from. But there's clearly a rumor in the area at the time of Henry
and
VIII.
again, there's clearly this connection with the Tudor dynasty as well because of Jasper floating about. So
Mm.
it's not an impossibility.
No, it's interesting,
But
isn't it?
but it's interesting. Yeah, but the thing without proof, it only ever just becomes an interesting little sidebar to the
Yeah.
possibilities of history.
But sadly, I mean, then we've got, I mean, it passes into the Stafford family, the Dukes of Buckingham in the 1500s. That is down that line, by the way. Again, it's through marriage.
Yeah.
So this is still one continuous line. There
Mm.
aren't outsiders coming in and taking Caldicot Castle. You've got that line,
No.
you can
Yeah.
go through the female line. And then it goes on to the Herberts and then the Somersets, Marquis of Worcester, Duke of Beaufort. We know the Somersets on this channel, don't we? We know
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
pretty well. In 1613, so it's basically been left now. Throughout the Elizabethan era, it's been left. It's become a ruin, sadly. In 1613, a jury at the Court of Survey, for instance, said that Caldicot Castle was in ruins and had been before the memory of any of them, and the cause of why it was a ruin was completely unknown to them.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
it's just been left, it's been
Yeah,
forgotten about, it's not near a major road, it's not harming anyone. It becomes, I guess, partly as a farm.
yeah.
Certainly, it was let out to various people. Whatever buildings could still be used at the time, I'm not sure. But I have spotted a chink in the armor of Caldicot Castle. If I am going to attack Caldicot Castle today, I know exactly what I'm going to do, Goff.
Yeah.
Not going to go through the gatehouse. I'm
Oh,
not going to go through the Bohun gate. I
yeah.
am going to go over this gate here. A normal, standard, keep out gate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not as defensible as one might hope. Yeah.
No,
So,
not really.
but
Not really.
when was this done then?
Well, I think, and this is again, the thing about Little Knowledge Podcast is we look at something and we think, what do you reckon about that?
Hmm.
I think it might have been done in the Civil War.
Oh,
Because the
yeah,
Civil War, Caldicot had a very small role.
yeah,
There are accounts that a very small royalist garrison was there for a short period.
yeah.
That's not why they would have slighted it in this way. I
No.
think they would have slighted it because at the time Caldicot Castle was owned by the Somersets, the
Oh, I see.
Marquises of Worcester at Raglan Castle.
Yeah.
And
So
it
they
took
just,
so long to conquer Raglan Castle
yeah,
that if it's owned by the Somersets and it's a castle, no matter how ruined, we've got to make sure they can't use it. That's my
yeah,
hunch.
yeah. It
So
is.
I think,
It's interesting that this period, because again, prior to the Civil War, an awful lot of these properties are reinforced, as if
yeah,
they
yeah,
know
yeah.
something's happening, and then during and after the Civil War, they all get knocked back down again, basically, and made redundant again. So that's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never read any evidence that they sort of refortified these ruins for the Civil War, but they
I
must
think
have done to a certain
I
extent,
think they
mustn't
must
they?
have, because you've got,
Yeah,
as you said, these are garrison forts. They aren't like great big major battle forts, but these small garrisons were all over the place. It's the way you control travel within an area. You might just have a temporary building taken over as a garrison fort with six guys with muskets in it, sort of thing. So these little places, um, yeah, no, they weren't major. They probably were. They didn't feature in anybody's great battle plan or whatever. But I think an awful lot of these structures were probably made more secure and more defensible, shall we say, and would used for temporary small garrisoning. Yeah,
yeah. I think you're right. I think it must have been. There had to be something to slight, right?
well, quite,
So
yeah.
even though it was pretty ruined, there must
Yeah.
have been something to slight at the time.
But also, you've got to think as well, at the time of a civil war between two areas, you're going to have to control movement within those areas. You
Hmm.
can't just have large castles in which everybody sits until the enemy turns up and they fight about it.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
also got
yeah,
to control movement across an area, stop access into an area, or establish boundaries. So you must have had loads of these little places around which have just fallen out of the record because they were too many and not really significant.
yeah. Agreed. Well, we can see here an aerial plan. So this is the gatehouse built by Thomas of Woodstock.
Oh, right,
The
yeah.
way that's the way in today. Opposite that, which was sort of a postern, a back door, was the
Yeah,
Woodstock Tower. So if they did come in by the Bohun gate originally, that was altered by
yeah,
Thomas of Woodstock. So you came in here, you've got that there, which was used for accommodation, maybe for staff. The tower in this corner is quite deep. It was used for residential use,
mm.
quite grand. If there was a hall, it may well have been along here. There was a grand hall, but that's gone now, even though the windows survive.
Oh, interesting.
Um, and you got the keep is here. The keep is here that we've already looked at. And this is the gate, the normal modern gate. So if they slighted it, they bashed this about
Yeah,
and they put a hole in the curtain wall, I think. That
yeah,
makes sense, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's probably right.
Yes, I
If
think
we go,
yeah.
if we go forward to the start of the 18th century, Buck, who was a man who has been on this podcast before with his various prints and drawings, actually makes Caldicot Castle look fairly good. So you might be right there, Goff. Maybe there was more during the Civil War of Caldicot Castle than I had assumed,
Mm.
because it still seems relatively substantial, even though it's completely overgrown, doesn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was this,
Yeah,
1732? This was sketched by
yeah,
Buck. You got the gatehouse. I mean, the two gates here, the two flanking, almost certainly a lot of that is used as a latrine, a guardrobe.
Oh gosh.
So it is for defense as well. But remember,
Yeah.
once that's become residential, you got to get your toilet sorted out.
Yeah.
So we think then over here somewhere must be the breach where the gate is now after the slighting. Frustratingly, we can't see that on this image, but we can see that on this image very clearly.
Oh
Look at
yes.
that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Oh
we're in the Bailey, we're inside the
yeah.
castle.
Yeah.
We've got the windows along here, the
Yeah. Yeah.
gatehouse is here, and look at the gap.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's yeah. 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 That's clearly yeah. They clearly walloped a hole through that one, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think we're right on that one.
Yeah.
And then again, it's forgotten about this place. It's so sad. It's forgotten about.
Hmm.
And it becomes those that do go there, they sort of see it as another one of those ruins, really. The history doesn't matter that much. Let's just go and look at it.
Oh, the
That sort of
romantic
thing.
ruin stage. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're
Yes.
almost, it didn't become part, I don't think, of the Y tour,
No.
sort of things that Valentine Morris was encouraging with his Piercefield, one of our earlier videos,
Hmm.
in nearby Chepstow. But it does become something Turner would sketch, right? And he did
Yeah.
sketch Caldicot Castle.
Oh, he did he?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's so light, there's no point showing it here,
Yeah.
the surviving sketchbook. But yeah, he did go to Caldicot. And if you remember, Turner did that incredible sketch of Iweni Priory, and he
Yes,
did a
that's
lot
yeah.
in this area.
Yeah.
So the historians aren't that interested in the 19th century. Nobody seems to care about Caldicot. Nobody seems to be putting in the hard yards to find out about it. So
Mm.
an historian rides to the rescue. For the first time in centuries, someone puts a lot of hard work in and wants to know the truth. And it was this man.
Oh, good Lord, Octavius. Octavius Swinnerton Morgan,
Of the
eighth
Friars
child
Legal.
of Sir Charles Morgan, the last Morgan of Tredegar House not to actually be a lord. The last one before the Lord's Tredegar came about. Oh, well, Octavius. Yeah, Octavius is very significant, isn't he, in this part of the world in terms of
He is.
antiquarianism. And a lot of the local history, local archaeological study. He was involved in Caerwent area. He was involved with Cillian, and a man who gets rubbished slightly, and we think probably potentially unfairly, by a lot of people who look down on what they consider the amateur antiquarian, the amateur historian. But I mean, he was a fellow of the Royal Society.
Oh, yeah,
I
he
think, I
was.
think I'm not sure whether we mentioned it before in one of the Morgan episodes, but I mean, Octavius would have papers sent to him from Faraday
Yeah.
for his commentary and sit and look over them. I mean, he's clearly not. The man is clearly not, an amateur dabbler.
Oh, no.
When someone at the rank of Faraday is asking him to assess his scientific work. So
So
yeah,
I found a quote recently which called Octavius Morgan the leading historian and antiquary in the area. I mean, so you've got to judge it by its merits and of the time. He was a leading historian, a leading figure in this area. So he was the right man to sort of come to Caldicot's rescue in a way.
yeah.
And he did. And we know that in 1853, let's have a little look at again Caldicot Castle at the time. 1853, although Octavius, who was also the local MP, couldn't get there, he wrote a paper which he asked his writing partner, Thomas Wakeman, to give at Caldicot Castle for the Cillian Antiquarian Association. And it says, it must have been in a bit of a state because it says, one of the mounds of rubbish near the west entrance served as a platform.
Oh, gosh.
So Thomas Wakeman had to get on one of those to give his thing, you see.
Yeah.
But the next year, Octavius published Notes on the Architecture and History of Caldicot Castle, which was quite an influential book,
Oh, right.
published in 1854. Octavius also pointed out how marshy the land around Caldicot Castle would have been in the early days, giving it something of, I mean, isolating it, yes, but also giving it some protection.
Yeah.
Because the ditch you see isn't necessarily a moat. It's a dry ditch today, and it was mostly a dry ditch. But as Octavius points out, in the high tides of 1842 and 1846, Caldicot Castle had a moat.
Interesting.
So they've built it in a marshy area, but the marshland was to do with defence in those days. It's not as marshy today.
No.
As it
So
was.
is it? Oh, beg your pardon, stand up. Is it part of the Gwent levels?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Oh,
quite
well,
modest
yeah.
levels. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
again, I mean, there for the marsh is an additional defensive structure, then, isn't it? You don't need these
Yeah,
big defensive things if you've got a great soggy bit of land all around you.
exactly.
On one of the photographs, you said it mentioned to it's near a small river called the Throggy.
Yeah.
What is it? What is this? I didn't catch it
It's
at the time.
between two rivers, actually, the
Ah,
Throggy being one of them, and there was another river. So you've got a castle.
I've never heard of the Throggy. How interesting.
No, but you're in the middle of two rivers.
All right.
Again, strategically, you can see why the original Motte and Bailey
Yeah.
by the Fitzwalters of Gloucester was actually created.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can see why. The Dukes of Beaufort actually sold in 1856 Caldicot Castle to Charles Lewis of Saint Pierre for
Oh,
£3,450.
all right. Oh, that's a fair chunk.
Well, he was bidding with George Ormerod of Sedbury Park, which isn't far from
Yeah.
Chepstow, and they were bidding, and in the end, Lewis of Saint Pierre managed to win. And then groups would go there. Colonel Lewis allowed groups to go there,
Hmm.
and most sort of trips would end up at the old Tiplin Philosopher, the nearby pub. And I was very sad to learn that the old Tiplin Philosopher, of which I read so much,
Yeah.
actually closed in, I think, 2013.
Oh
It was the
no.
oldest pub in
Oh,
Caldicot. We could have had a pint in the old Tiplin Philosopher,
the
Goff,
tippling philosopher. Oh no.
which all these people did.
Yeah.
But there's a wonderful thing. So the Lewises allowed people to come in, and my favourite one was in 1862 when the Catholic Association for the Suppression of Drunkenness held their annual fete in the grounds of Caldicot Castle. They started off in Newport catching the train, and there were 1,700 of them. And it says the and the people in Newport thought, what on earth's going on here? Because they had pipers and all sorts. It's a huge thing. Anyway, it says upwards of 1,700 persons arrived about 11 o'clock, where they formed a procession, headed by their brass band, who had made themselves appear to be Ethiopian, to the astonishment of some of the rustics of the neighbourhood, and they proceeded to Caldicot. All the approaches to the castle were strictly guarded by policemen from Chepstow and Newport, to the great disgust of the villagers, who seemed to consider they had the right to witness the sports of the members of the association, after having their territories invaded by such a numerous horde of visitors. And then it becomes like the first attack on the castle for many years. Many were the attempts to scale the fortress, most of them futile, as the police had received strict injunctions not to admit any outsiders and acted up to their instructions too rigidly to please the villagers, who were forced to retire to the Tiplin Philosopher to drown their sorrows. Some sneaked in, while others, who had too rakish an appearance, were handled out by a clerical gentleman. So the bouncer essentially was a
Yeah.
priest.
Yeah. Bless you, my son. Cop for this.
Oh dear. So there we are. 1885, however,
Oh,
it is sold again to Joseph Russell Cobb. Now, he was a solicitor who made an awful lot of money. He'd lived in Brecon for 60 years. He was a solicitor, and he was addicted to restoring castles.
right.
So he paid money to restore Monabea Castle near Tenby, Pembroke Castle, and with the help of Lord Tredegar's cash, Brecon Castle, and also the Priory Church in Brecon.
Hmm.
So, and he decided that, I mean, this was the most ambitious I think we've ever known on this podcast, because he decided not just to stop the ruins getting any worse, but to turn it into a family home.
Blimey, that's
Miss,
ambitious. You see
Miss,
some of the
yeah,
drawings.
Mr. Cobb, who appears to have been his own architect, decided he wanted to live at Caldicot Castle.
Oh,
I don't think we've seen that in the past, have we, on here?
no, no.
Not a proper
No,
castle.
not at this stage, not in the 1890s, late 19th century, no.
No, well, there's J.R. Cobb.
Oh,
And he spent an awful lot of money to buy it. He spent an awful lot of money to restore it with his wife Emily, and it worked. They both did indeed end up living at Caldicot Castle as a residence. And Mr. Cobb was famous, J.R. Cobb, for saving castles, and the man he chose to advise certainly in the early years, was Octavius Morgan.
Oh, right.
So we got Octavius Morgan in to tell him you shouldn't do that, you've got to do
Yeah,
this. He was actually very sympathetic, Cobb, what he was trying to do.
yeah.
That didn't stop the Builder magazine saying, oh, this is going to be the shammiest of shams. But it brings up the great debate, doesn't it, Goff? What do you
Yeah,
do with ruins? Do you restore them or do you
yeah,
preserve them?
yeah.
And there are different schools of thought on
Oh,
that,
yeah,
aren't there?
yeah, very different. I mean, the tendency at the moment is to preserve.
Yeah.
No, you don't do major structural rebuilding, but that is really in this country. So when you go and see a Cadw ruin, it is
Mm,
kept as at that state as much as they can. They prevent deterioration, but you don't add and you don't reconstruct as much, and you don't do that anything with it really as
mm.
much as this anything to make it structurally sound, and that's it. But I mean, you go to places like Spain, and you look at some of the Crusader forts in Spain, they are literally rebuilt from the foundations up. A lot of the time, you see a thin line around the base of these incredibly towering castles. But it is a complete rebuild. It's not just a restoration; it's a rebuilding. So, and also there was this tendency as well in the 19th century to romanticism and
Oh,
Gothic
yeah, 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 yeah.
completion of buildings. So,
I think he might have been
um,
guilty of a bit of that, but
yeah. So when you look at great. When you look at the works of the Marquis of Bute with Castel Coch and Cardiff Castle, etc., um, they're not restored. They are rebuilt Gothic fantasies. Really, they're not. There's no evidence what they. But not to say they aren't tremendous. They are actually tremendous buildings. Historically authentic? No, no, not at all.
yeah. I
So
mean,
it
but there was
sounds as if Cobb was trying to be somewhere
in the middle.
middle,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah. He's
So
not
yeah,
William. He's not Randolph Hearst at St. Donat's.
no,
For anyone who's watched our podcast on that, I mean, he's desperate to do the right thing,
yeah,
but he wants to turn it into a home. So there
yeah,
are accommodations you have to make there, aren't there?
yeah.
Anyway, let's see how he got on, shall we? Because it was a complete ruin, as we know.
Mm,
Mound of rubbish being the stage for Mr. Wakeman's lecture on the history of Caldicot Castle a few years before. So he starts to clear out things. So you've got a steady path through the gateway now. You can see the Woodstock Tower he's restored.
yeah.
And there's still a lot of ivy, which was good for one girl called Lily, I think it was, who on one of the outings fell from the keep when she was messing around. She was saved by the ivy.
Oh, blimey!
She fell from the keep and only had two broken wrists.
Good
So
lord!
the ivy's still
Yeah.
popular in the 19th century, of course.
Oh yeah, we strip it off now because it basically destroys mortar between brickwork.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Last thing you want is actually pulling a building down
Yeah,
gradually, bit by bit. The ivy. They loved it in the 19th century.
they
They put
did. They thought
ivy
it
all
was
over everything.
quite romantic. So there's the keep. So he's got a roof on it now, and he's got
Oh yeah,
various bits of furniture in there. So not so bad, Mr. Cobb. And this bit here, all this timber, all of this is Cobb.
right,
This was essentially his main home. He lived in
right.
the gatehouse.
Yeah.
There
Oh
you go. I see what you mean about the romance, the almost Burgess style
yeah.
romance. It is a 19th century's person, an idea of a medieval house, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
But it's still an extraordinary achievement.
Oh yeah. It's still
Of war.
fantastic. I mean, they've got a glamour of their own, shall we say now. Um, they're wonderful looking buildings, but if you go to expecting historical authenticity, you're going to be very sadly disappointed.
Yeah, but you're not going to get wet when you walk in there.
No, 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 no.
And this
Oh,
is,
that's a nice romantic shot.
he appears to have found the Holy Grail as well. Well done, Mr. Cobb. So you can see what he's aiming at, don't you?
Yeah,
From these little images, you can see what he's aiming at. So he lived there, J.R. Cobb, but he had something else, a little passion, which he shared with his son, who had an obsession, and that's with old ships. So after, in his opinion, sort of saving Caldicot Castle and putting it back on the map, or certainly putting it back as a home for the first time since, who knows, since the last sort of lessees were there. Nelson's ship, it was Nelson's flagship in 1799 to 1800, and it was called the Foudroyant, from the Welsh word foudroyant, which meant a sudden appearance like a lightning bolt. So it's a good
Oh,
name for a ship. I
yeah.
have to admit, the British Royal Navy were and still are extraordinarily good at naming ships.
Yeah.
Whereas the Americans, maybe the mightiest ship in the world today is the USS Gerald Ford. I still think if the USS Gerald Ford came up against HMS Implacable or HMS, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
it should surrender out of principle.
Yeah, on names alone,
From
it's lost already. Yeah, it's
exactly. No
like-
offense to Gerald Ford, very pleasant man, but you know what I mean.
yeah, couldn't
So
fart and
anyway,
come at the same time, but apart from that.
yeah, well, it depends if you listen to LBJ, of course, doesn't it? Yeah, so the Foudroyant it was Nelson's ship for a year. Emma Hamilton was on board, so a little bit of a ship of scandal. The King of Naples was on board. And by the end of the 19th century, it had been sold to a German breakers' yard
Oh gosh.
to be destroyed. And there are a few people who didn't like that, including Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote a poem for Nelson's sake,
Uh,
which urged someone to come up with the cash to save the Foudroyant. And J.R. Cobb did it. He spent £25,000 restoring this ship, which is a big sum, isn't it, in the 1890s?
where did Cobb make his money?
This is something I have thought of as well. Can you make
Oh,
this much money as a solicitor in Brecon?
no, this is what I mean. We're talking at so far, we've got figures of 28,000 in the latter part of the 19th century. You could easily double that and stick a naught on the end.
Are you
You,
ready for this? The Cobbs, I'm not sure. I have read it in a newspaper, so take it with a pinch of salt. But the Cobbs, either him or his son, paid £60,000 to restore HMS Victory. Where did this money come from?
yeah, that's astonishing, isn't it?
If
Pardon me.
anyone knows, if there are any Cobb descendants, let us know how they made this enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad they did. They saved. He did save the Foudroyant for a
Well,
little
yeah,
while.
I mean, you've certainly putting the money to good use, but where the hell is it coming from? All of this?
Yeah,
Because
you're quite right.
these are large sums now, but they're astronomical sums in the latter part of the 19th century.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So he restores this thing, and he thinks, well, we've got to make a little bit of money. So basically, it becomes like a sideshow. So his son Geoffrey, who is obsessed with everything naval, his son Geoffrey goes off on the Foudroyant, basically stopping at ports around the country and charging a fee for people to go on board and have a look at her. He
Oh,
even
right.
turns up. He turns up at the Alexandra Dock Newport at one point,
Oh,
and the
right.
Foudroyant is there, and all the Newportonians sort of
Yeah.
come out to gawp at Nelson's flagship once upon a time because it's restored as it was in Nelson's day.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's the thing. So although his house is restored in a slightly different way,
Yeah.
when it comes to the naval vessels, and then it all goes horribly wrong in 1897. What they want to do also is turn Foudroyant into a training ship for the Sea Scouts.
Oh, yeah.
So you can go on board, you can learn naval things, you might end up joining the Royal or Merchant Navy in later years. That was the plan. They loved that idea, and it didn't cost you a penny. They covered that as well. Again, where is the Cobb money coming from?
Mm.
And it was brilliant. And so Geoffrey took command of the Foudroyant and sailed it around. So Cobb's son Geoffrey. And then, 1897, near Blackpool, it was caught in a horrendous storm. And it snapped its anchor cable.
Oh,
And it was so bad, the seas, that the lifeboat couldn't get out to get them. You can
God.
imagine Geoffrey is there and they're being
Yeah.
swept out about a mile maybe from shore. And kids are terrified. There are 27 kids on board. And they think, well, where should we go? Should we huddle underneath? Should we go? Because the ship is being ripped apart by the gales, the Foudroyant. Sadly, well, no, not sadly for them, they did survive. And finally, they saw out the storm. How they did it, because if you fell in the water then, you were gone.
Mm.
It was so bad. The lifeboat putters out and saves all of them.
Gosh.
But all were saved. The ship damaged Blackpool North Pier.
Oh,
And
gosh.
although everyone on board was saved, including
Yeah.
Geoffrey Cobb, Wheatley Cobb, the ship was not. There it is on the beach.
Oh, gosh.
1897, the Foudroyant. They spent so much money. Look how smashed up it is.
It's
And look how
terrible.
it immediately becomes something that you go and have a
Tourist
look at.
attraction. Yeah, that's just the Victorian way, isn't it? There's the
It's,
nice donkey carts. Obviously, somebody's making a fortune on Blackpool Beach. Driving
isn't it
people down to see the
amazing?
wrecked ship. Yeah. They are.
Yeah, I mean, extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, I
And
say
yet,
it's a society starved of sensation. So that's why everything was saying anything lightly sensational, they would flood into. Yeah, amazing. Mind
but
you, I remember though when we've had ships come aground and spilled stuff. I mean, we still get people turn up to look at them nowadays. I mean,
yeah.
it's still a fascinating thing to come so close to something that size and to see it. It's where how it's got there. It's just incredible. If you look, you
And,
see the size of the people by comparison to it is amazing.
and when you've got the Nelson link as well, I mean,
Yes.
that
Well,
adds
yeah,
to it, doesn't it? That
yeah,
adds to it. But then you get advertising. Don't we all love advertising? Because this is what they did. So they've written, I mean, okay, you at first glance, you think,
yeah,
all right, it was Nelson's flagship. So
yeah,
of course they have written, England expects every man to do his duty.
yeah.
So of course you expect that. But no, that you're only seeing some of it. The actual full thing says England expects every man will do his duty and take Beecham's pills. That's what it says. The fury of the local magistrates meant Beecham's pills had to remove the advert. But oh my
Yeah.
goodness, isn't it amazing? You're not
And you're
surprised by that though, are you?
wonderfully, wonderfully barefaced.
Well,
All these
80,
people are turning up. They're not going to miss the opportunity. Every man must do his duty and take Bishop's pills.
no, I know.
Oh my
Well, I guess they were doing their job, weren't they? The
God.
advertisers, in fairness to them.
Yeah.
But it was there for a while, and they tried to say if we gave enough money, could they actually refloat it? But it was done, and it was eventually killed by the November and December gales,
Oh,
which
right.
hit it to such a bad extent that it was just sadly the dear old Foudroyant was not rescuable, and sadly that was also about a week later, Mr. Cobb died.
Oh, dear.
So he basically saw the ship he'd spent all that money on just
Yeah.
die. So what do you do when you've got this? Well, basically you turn it into things. I mean,
Oh,
it's the
right.
tourist trade. So if you go to Monmouth Museum, you'll see this. This cabinet is made out of the timber from the Foudroyant.
Oh, right. Oh, gosh.
And if we move in, and there's J.R. Cobb and there's Geoffrey, his son, who
Oh,
almost
yeah.
died on board. But if you go up here, you can actually see a little view of Caldicot Castle, and here it's not there anymore. It's the figurehead from the Foudroyant.
Oh, right.
It
Oh,
was part of the garden of Geoffrey Cobb when he took over the castle.
oh, Lord.
They
Oh,
also made about 20,000 medals that look like a little bit like that, and so
yeah.
you can still find them. They're not rare.
Yeah.
On eBay, you might get a Foudroyant medal if you're lucky.
Oh, right.
But the fact that Caldicot Castle played such a role in the end of this great ship of Nelson's is again
Yeah.
shouldn't be forgotten.
No, no, no. It's that's very important. Yeah.
So he eventually, he's still obsessed. He inherits, Caldicot Castle, Mr. Wheatley Cobb, Geoffrey, and there he is. And it says here he's given the freedom of Falmouth, and yes, he is. He bought a new ship. Again, it was from 1816. It was a French ship.
Oh,
Oh no, it wasn't. No, sorry, it's a British ship. There were so many ships with this man, and it's called the Trincomolee. And he changed the name to the Foudroyant,
oh, yeah.
Foudroyant 2,
Yeah.
and turned the Trincomalee into another training ship. So he was still
Oh,
giving the boys training
yeah.
and that sort of thing. He was still obsessed when it came with ships, and a very expensive hobby that must have been. And there's a little image here of him on deck, very patriotic, of the
Oh, yeah.
Trincomalee, now Foudroyant 2. There he is, looking at something.
Yeah. Oh, is it him looking? He's the one looking at something, is he?
No, he's the one on the deck with the white hat. But
Oh,
he's
he's wearing
got
the white
one
hat. I thought he was the bloke on
of
the
his
top with the
lads.
binoculars.
One of his lads are up there. And the Trincomalee, actually, or Foudroyant 2, actually is still around. It is the
Oh, right.
second largest ship to be floating in the world. And if you want to go see it, it's a great museum. Go to
Yeah.
Hartlepool, because there it
Oh,
is.
right.
But that would not have existed if it wasn't for the Cobbs of Caldicot Castle.
Trincomalee. So it's gone back to being called the Trincomalee then. They dropped the
Come
Floyd.
back, yeah. It was a training ship, right? I think into the 60s and 70s. and they changed it back to the Trincomolee. Trincomolee is actually a port in Sri Lanka.
Oh, right.
And I think some of the people who worked on
Yeah.
the original one was Trincomalee. It was made in India.
Oh, right.
So there it is. And the good thing about this, I've never been there, but it looks great. You see these buildings, which are of the era, they're
Yeah.
full of wax mannequins of barber surgeons
Oh, yeah.
of the day. So if you
Yeah.
go to this part of Hartlepool, you can go
Yeah.
on Trincomalee and just get that feeling of sort of just after Nelson's time. It's a very, very imaginative museum,
Hmm.
which um, which I'm all for, quite frankly.
Hmm.
Right, so here he is. And there he is, very, very much the sailor.
Hmm.
But his diary has survived, which is rather fun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's quite revealing about what he got up to at Caldicot Castle.
Yeah.
So we've got to show the keep again for this story. I'm going to read from his diary, which is in the National Museum of the Royal Navy. It's 1922, January the 1st, Sunday. Saw New Year on top of the keep with 7 boys. Let off fireworks, but they were cut short by a spark which ignited what was to have been the remainder of the show, and the box was soon full of exploding rockets and squibs. Fred found his own parapet and then tried to play Old Lang Syne on his cornet, but his lips were scorched, and it died away in a melancholy wail.
What?
Not good. January the 21st. We are very deep in patterns of tapestries and other materials for curtains and wall panelling, and the flood of artistic talk is very wearing. Clearly, he must be back at sea.
Yeah.
I am interested in making the rooms nice, but have none of Anna's, his wife's, delicate perceptions. She has completely spoiled the drawing room, which was a beautiful room, so I don't mind what she does there. Fortunately, she approves of the dining room and guard room, so I hope they may escape. So he's got and other little bits at the time. This is good, isn't it? On the faces, and we don't know who they are.
Oh, yeah.
They date from Thomas of Woodstock's time, so don't know who they are.
You can't tell. They could just be like, standard ornament faces or actual people.
Yeah,
Representation of
there's
actual
no
people.
way we know
There's
now.
no way you're ever going to know.
No, not from the 14th century.
They're definitely not gargoyle.
No, they're people.
Right? So they're definitely people. So whether they are representing people within the landowners or whatever,
Someone has suggested one of them might be Edward II, but
Yeah.
again, I don't know about it. I would have thought one of them would be Thomas of Woodstock himself.
Well, that's
Presumably
the
Eleanor,
beard looks similar to the actual that little drawing we had of him years ago.
Yeah.
That
So,
beard
but we'll
one,
never know. We'll never know.
that
Sadly.
could be him.
So yeah, so he's still basically leaving his wife Anna, I think, to restore the place
Yeah.
now. But how atmospheric would that have been living there
Yeah.
with all these little twists and all these little turns? But then he writes something very interesting in his diary. February the 5th, 1922. My whole soul revolts from this marriage.
Oh, God.
If I could wake and find it a dream, I should be wild with joy. But I should have to do it to save the ship. So it seems to me that Anna must have been a very wealthy bride. And at this point, he's using her money to restore all these ships that,
Oh, that's interesting.
because another ship has popped up as well.
Oh,
Another ship. It's the last prize of Trafalgar. It started as a French ship, and then they captured it a little while after Trafalgar and was incorporated in the Royal Navy as the HMS Implacable. And again, it was due to go to the breakers yard. So Geoffrey Wheatley Cobb basically bought it, or at least got Edward VII in 1908 to stop its destruction until it was eventually handed over to Geoffrey. And again, he had to spend money on that, turning it into a training ship. So he's getting the money somewhere, isn't he?
yeah. Oh, God, definitely.
But this ship ultimately, sadly, had a very sad end. He did save it, but after he died in 1949, it was after the war. During World War II, Implacable was an accommodation ship. And you know what they decided in 1949? The French didn't have the money to restore it and keep it. The British didn't, so they scuttled it near the Isle of Wight. If they hadn't, then that would have been quite a ship to still be going to this day. And there's a YouTube video of them destroying this ship in 1949, just sinking it. And the camera pans down the line, and you've got elderly men who'd worked on it, an elderly man who looks sad, sad, sad. And there's one with a big grin on his face.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
never know his story.
Yeah.
Sadly, dear old Implacable.
Yeah.
It's a good job that Geoffrey Wheatley Cobb didn't actually live long enough to see Implacable go to the bottom of the sea
Yeah.
in the Isle of Wight, which is a shame, really.
Wonder if it's still there, what state it's in.
Well, it'll be there at some state, won't it?
Mm.
1931. So luckily for him, a few years before the end of Implacable, Geoffrey dies of appendicitis,
Oh gosh.
and
Oh.
he dies in a very naval funeral at Caldicot Church, where the Cobbs are buried. And so he leaves his wife Anna, who sort of carries on and tries to continue things. And for her to finish off, I think it might be a good idea if we just have a little look at the castle and I explain what happened. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Is it a full screen?
Yes.
There we are. Good. So here we are in front of Caldicot Castle. Anna dies in. Well, firstly, he let some of the towers before he died. And he said, "The letting is the last sacrifice to enable me to preserve the implacable. No tenant will love this place as I do, but he will maintain it, and it will not suffer. And if I fail, implacable will be broken up in 3 months, and the world will be poorer." That's what Geoffrey said.
Yeah.
So you've got other people, not just the Cobbs, living here at this time in various towers. Extraordinarily.
Yeah.
Here we are. And there is the extraordinary gatehouse of our friend Thomas of Woodstock.
Mm.
And the home of the Cobbs, as it would have been.
Yeah.
So if we go inside,
Oh, I never knew you could do this on Google, do it?
we think this is the foundation stone. Remember I said one said Thomas and one said
Oh, yeah.
Eleanor? I think
Yeah.
they brought that inside. No, I don't know if that's Thomas or Eleanor. Can you see? It's too
No,
hard to see.
can't make it
I
out.
think it might be Thomas.
Yeah.
So if we go out into the Bailey, it'll be harder. You go too far and it goes wild. Ah, like that. Ah! Where am I now? Go near the gun,
Yeah.
damn you.
Yeah.
Right, we're finally here. The gun, you won't be surprised to know, is the original one from the Foudroyant.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that's why it's there. We got Foudroyant's gun. Haven't got the figurehead anymore. That's in a museum, but we've got this. So what happened was, we've got a few more people living in the various things. They've done up the towers. This is the tower, the Woodstock Tower.
Yeah.
And I did wonder, Goff, have they ever performed Richard II at Caldicot Castle? Because this is the perfect spot.
Yeah.
But Shakespeare's Richard II starts with them talking about the murder of Thomas of Woodstock,
Oh, that's interesting. Didn't know
Duke of
that.
Gloucester. But you've got this is where you'll find his legacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caldicot Castle. He built that. And even Eleanor has lines in Shakespeare's play.
Oh, right.
He goes up to John of Gaunt and says, "You've got to, your brother's been murdered. You've got to, get some justice." But so yeah, this is perfect for a Richard II performance. So that's what they do. She dies in 1943, and then she puts a will where she keeps it in the Cobb family in a trust. But she said, if the trust fails, Caldicot Castle is to go to the National Trust.
Oh.
Which, of course, it never did. So I assume that the various trusts that she set up did not fail.
Oh, quite, yeah.
So having a look around. But what happened was, in 1964, a Chepstow Rural District Council bought it from the Cobbs for £12,000.
Blimey.
And it was open to the public the next year. But there was some time when they had problems with housing in the area. And so what the Cobbs had actually done was do up various towers as flats.
Oh, right.
So people were living in the various towers as apartments. And then when the housing crisis lessened a bit, they sort of went out, the council took over, and then it became a tourist attraction in 1964 for medieval banquets and things like that.
Yes, yes, it was. Yeah, that was one of the big famous things it was famous for around here, the medieval banquets.
So just to give you, there's the gatehouse with the Cobb touches. There's the De Bohun Gate.
Yep.
There's the keep. If you go along here, there's the Woodstock Tower. And on this side is the gate, which we think is because of the slight injury in the Civil War, don't we?
Yeah.
So there we are. So there is a little look. I could show you in various rooms, but I want to encourage you to go there in person.
Okay.
Support Caldicot Castle, which I think was I think it deserves more than to be ignored and to be called an obscure history, I think.
Yes, actually, it's pretty significant what was contribution that was made by people there, wasn't it? And some of the previous owners. When you've got, particularly, yeah, High Constables of England and this, that, and the other, but that's quite significant. A lot of occupants and history there. I
Plus the other little
definitely,
things that we think is a possibility, such as the Henry V link
yeah,
and all the other little things that you've mentioned and we've explored. So, yeah, Caldicot Castle, I would definitely recommend a visit. It is owned by the local authority, but
yeah,
do pop along. It doesn't cost much to get in, and you can wander throughout. There is a bit in the Woodstock Tower, which again is this little glance, because you can wander around and go up
yeah.
various staircases, spiral staircases, go to the Woodstock Tower, go up a spiral staircase, make sure you see everything, because one room has a modern tile bath.
All right.
And it looks so weird. A modern
Yeah,
tile bath in this little space,
yeah,
this 1381 space.
yeah.
And it just, again, is another bit of the
Hangover from when it'd been
history.
adapted as flats, probably. And
Yeah, of Caldicot Castle. So there we are, Goff. I hope you enjoyed that
I
surprise.
did actually. That was really interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, it was nice to have that as a mystery tour. Well impressed.
Was a bit of a mystery tour. And just to point out, oh, where are we? There we are. Um, we have now hit 1,000 subscribers, so thank you very much for that. We're
Oh,
on about
woman of who?
1006. We've got a plan to do a live stream, depending on when you see this, 1st of November 2025,
Yes,
haven't
we're
we?
hoping to. We have a little plan we're going to do. Like last year, we did a live scream, but we're not going to be able to do a Halloween special this year. But we're going to do a little knowledge Day of the Dead instead. We're going to look at our 10 most popular podcasts and the owners of the houses. So there we
And
are.
it's interesting, actually. I've looked at the top 10 most popular, and it has to be worked out by dividing the amount of views to the amount of
Yeah.
time it's actually been up. So it's
Oh,
not necessarily what you think. There are a few surprise entries in the top 10. So look out for that.
yeah.
And as always, thank you for joining us, and
Yeah.
we'll be back soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.